Welcome to Hear Our Story, the podcast where first-generation Palestinian voices take center stage. I'm Elias.
And I'm Janice Farhat.
Together, we're sitting down with family, friends, aunts, uncles, and yes, all your cousins too, so we can share the rich, complex stories of growing up between two worlds, the land that gave us life and the one that lives forever in our hearts.
They are not just our stories. They're stories that will feel familiar, maybe even like your own. So grab some coffee, get comfortable, and let's dive into these conversations that are as enlightening as they are entertaining.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode. Our guest today grew up in Jacksonville and has spent her entire life in the Northeast Florida area. Her grandfather and father were charter members of this club. She, as well as her father and brother, have served as president, and her entire family have given an enormous amount of their time and talent to this club for decades. Her roots really do run deep. We are so happy to have Brenda Batteh Brown on today's podcast. Brenda, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Hey, Brenda, it's so nice to have you on. As you know, we always ask each guest to give their parents' names, their hamula, and to share their story on what brought them to the States.
Well, first, I want to say thank you again. And, I'm humbled and honored to be asked to be on this podcast. My parents are Fawad Salem and Mary Batteh, and my hamula is Dar Brahim. First, let me say my mother and her sister Maggie were both born in New York.
Ah.
They were the only two of the six children of Jamil Abdullah and Helena Jadallah Batteh to be born in the States, hence why they have American names. My mom's family left the States and went back to Ramallah when my mom was really young, and then they came back to the States when my mom was a teenager. My father, on the other hand, was born in Jerusalem in a hospital, the only one of his siblings to be born in a hospital. And he was in a boarding school when the King David Hotel was bombed, and the school was near it. And so the school was closed and everybody was sent home. So in February of 1948, he and a few of his cousins came via boat, hence the term FOB, fresh off the boat, to the United States. His father was already here. He left his mom and four younger siblings in Ramallah. They arrived, and my dad was enrolled at Andrew Jackson High School on his 17th birthday. He should have been a junior in high school, but they looked at his transcript and said, no, you're a senior in high school. So he was promoted to senior status immediately. He graduated high school. He had a full ride to the University of Florida, had to help his father get money to bring his mother and siblings over. So he became a salesman on the road immediately. And by 1950, as my Uncle Kimmel would like to say, they were FOPs because they all came on planes. They came to the States 2 years later.
Wow. Very nice. The next question we always like to ask is, what were the expectations in the household growing up in an Arab culture, but in America? Like language, good grades, jobs, respect for elders, volunteer work, for example?
So in my house, it's kind of interesting. My brother Ricky's 5 years older than I.
Mm-hmm.
He was at a Catholic school. The nuns called my mom and said, speak English at home. So they did. I know.
Uh-huh.
So I was not, and I'm the only one that didn't live with my grandparents. My parents bought a house in 1961. I was born in 1962. So they never spoke Arabic at home, hence why I don't speak Arabic. Our grades were a huge expectation in our house. You had to make good grades. And we, as far as like friends and everything, our friends were our family. That was another huge expectation. If there was a family event going on, you were not hanging out with any of your American friends. You were hanging out with family. That was just how it was done. I started working at my dad's sandwich shop when he opened it in 1973. I was 11. First, I gave the drinks because I could not make a sandwich well, and that was okay. I was good making the drinks, doing the drinks for him. I worked there until I graduated from college and started teaching. I also worked at a place called Finkelstein's. I worked at Ecker Drug Store, which is now CVS. After I did the drinks at the sandwich shop, my Uncle Mike taught me how to run the cash register back when it was not computerized. So you figured out tax in your head. You figured out how to give change back.
Wow.
And that's what I did the entire time until I graduated college. And my college classes were centered around lunch at the sandwich shop. I knew I had to be at the sandwich shop by 11:15, and then, but I also only worked until like 2:00.
Nice gig, Brenda.
It was a very nice gig. Are you kidding me? And I absolutely loved it. My CETA was also there, and so CETA Salomon. So he was sitting next to me at the cash register. I mean, it was the best gig ever.
Yeah.
Awesome. I truly, the only reason why I left was because I graduated college and got a real job, according to my dad.
Yeah.
And back then you got paid in sandwiches and potato chips, and I learned how to drink Tab. At the time.
Yeah.
And then graduated to Diet Coke. So that's stuff we didn't have in the house when I was a kid. So it was a big deal.
Yeah. Brenda, some listeners may know this and some may not, but for those who do not, we are, of course, first cousins. And I know that CETA Salem and your father, my Khalo, Fuad, spend an enormous amount of time here at the club. Can you talk about some of your first memories here at our present location? And do you remember the club prior to us being here in 1977?
So let me talk about the club prior to this one.
Please.
The only thing I remember is the bathrooms there.
Okay.
Were painted, like the doors and stuff were like this mint green. That's all
This
I remember.
is what you remember?
And I can see the doors swinging. And then that and running around like we were crazy people everywhere. This club, I clearly remember the dedication of this club in 1977.
Yeah.
I guess I was 15 years old.
Yeah.
And
Pivotal time.
my brothers were coming. So my dad's like, okay, Brenda, you can come. I remember my mom buying me a long dress. First time I ever wore a long dress or something like that. I was so excited. And then I think we spent every New Year's Eve here. And then, every Christmas party, we just I remember my dad was, when he became president of the club here, the only time I ever saw him drink too much was the New Year's Eve party. And he got a little bit tipsy. And not that he was, to me, here's this high school kid. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, my dad's drunk. He was tipsy. He wasn't drunk. And so we spent a lot of time here. I have great memories of this place. Yep.
Moving ahead to your education and career, you became an educator. You have a bachelor's and a master's degree. You spent your entire educational career at Duncan Fletcher High School after an exceptional 35-year record. However, teaching was not your first choice, was it?
No. So I really wanted to be an occupational therapist. And I wanted to work with people with disabilities. When I was in high school, I volunteered at Special Olympics. And I thought, I found my niche. And then, of course, went to FSCJ for 2 years, then went on to UNF. And UNF did not have an occupational therapy program at the time. So I went into special ed instead. And it's kind of funny because I had to do, when you do an internship for education, you have to do one at each grade level. And I didn't realize this. I'd already done the babies. I had done elementary school. I hadn't done middle school or high school. And so my final internship was at Fletcher. And I went kicking and screaming. I thought, there's no way. These kids are bigger than I am. I'm never going to do this. It's not going to be good. But even the night before I had to go, Sammy, my brother, had to drive me to Fletcher so I knew where it was because I had no idea. And I don't think people realize back in 1984, there was nothing on Beach Boulevard. All those subdivisions, even the gas stations, there was none of that stuff. So he drove me out, showed me the easiest way to get there. I took that route every day. Do you think I varied from it one time? No, one time.
Yeah.
So and so, in the rest, I mean, it was, and I know it's God's work in this. I got there, fell in love with the place, fell in love with my students. It was just a great opportunity. And the teacher I was interning under ended up leaving. Her husband got a transfer, and she said to the principal, I think this person would be good here. And I don't know how I got the job because I was a new hire. I know I found out later that somebody else put in for a transfer and didn't get that job. I'm telling you, it was God's handiwork. So
God's handiwork and a little bit of serendipitous planning on his part. Because this is where things get a little bit very interesting, Brenda, correct?
Yeah.
Because if you went away to college and you became an occupational therapist and you didn't go to UNF and you didn't end up at Fletcher, you wouldn't have met Kevin Brown.
I would not have met Kevin Brown. It's kind of crazy how that worked out. And there are opportunities to have met him in other situations. I was invited to a New Year's Eve party by another cousin, and I ended up coming to the club instead. And it was at Kevin's house with his roommates.
What?
How crazy is that?
Huh.
I'm working at the sandwich shop, and one of the people that I meet that works in the building was one of Kevin's childhood friends. It's just, I'm telling you, it was truly meant to be.
Absolutely.
It really was. But, and then I meet Kevin, and it's kind of crazy. I meet Kevin. I see him when I'm doing my internship. And the lady I'm interning under, Sandy Kaiser, whom I still keep in touch with, said, "Oh, Brenda, he's seeing somebody." I'm like, "Okay." And all I said was, "Who's that guy?" And she goes, "Oh, he's seeing somebody." I'm like, "Okay." And I kind of left it at that. Didn't know his name, didn't know anything about him. So then fast forward, I get the job and I start teaching in '84, the fall of '84. When I want to say I was at the California convention when my father called me and said, "Brenda, you have to come home." What do you mean? Because I'm hanging out with my cousins, the Jadellas in California. I'm like, "What do you mean I have to come home?" He goes, "The school board called, you have a job." I'm like, "Really? I have to come home?" So I came home. Now I had been there for at least 2 weeks. So,
in California.
It was wonderful. Doing absolutely nothing. It was wonderful.
And all that education and money that your parents had invested in you has now come to fruition. Yeah. Okay.
So I have to come home.
Yes.
So, so I come home and I start teaching, and Kevin coached football at the high school. He was not a teacher yet, and he was doing multiple jobs when I actually met him.
Sure.
But he was subbing there at the time. He coached football, but I'd see him at some of the football games, but once again, I didn't know anything else about him, so I never approached him or anything. And then come the end of my first year teaching, they had a faculty party, and it was on a boat. And Kevin will tell you I trapped him on the boat, but that isn't the case. It was on a boat.
Well, Kevin is not here to tell his side of the story. So you have the microphone.
Okay, that's right. So somebody introduced us, and so we met then. And so it took, like I said earlier, it took him a while to ask me out because all the other coaches had said, "Oh, yeah, no, her parents aren't going to let her date some American guy." So he was very hesitant to ask me out. So I had to nudge him a little bit. And we started dating. Our first date was June 1st, 1985. And we were engaged before the end of the summer.
I see. Okay. So,
Wow.
yes, Alex, let's explain something with dating back in the 80s. All right. Long courtships were really not a thing, even for Arabic people or anyone outside of the culture. It just wasn't something. Brenda, I don't know if it was very customary back then.
Oh, no, my dad, it's interesting. We went out on our first date. We go to St. Augustine because he knows that I'm nervous. Okay. We go to Barnacle Bills, which is no longer there, which makes me sad. But we run into people that are Arab. And of course, my heart just sinks. I can't eat. I'm a nervous wreck. And it ended up being people that would never have said anything anyway, but I didn't know that. So Kevin says to me, "What's wrong?" I'm like, "Oh, you're not going to believe this." So anyway, long story short, within that week, I told my parents, I said, "I met this guy at work. He's a good person. I want y'all to meet him." I told Kevin, "You're going to meet my parents." So that weekend, he met my parents. And my father, in my true father fashion, and in hindsight, I can't believe he did this. He said, "Well, I think he needs to meet he needs to meet some other people." I said, "Okay." He goes, "Why don't you bring him to the picnic at the club?" Well, it was the Father's Day picnic. The Father's Day picnic is the biggest picnic.
Yes.
And I don't know if it was to scare him off. I'm not sure what it was, but I remember pulling up here to this club, and Kevin says, "It's a picnic, right?" "Yeah, it's a picnic." "Where are all the tables?" I go, "Sweetie, this is Florida. Our tables are inside.
Yes.
We don't picnic outside in the state of Florida." So, yeah.
So let me get this straight, and to clarify for Alex, you go out on a date with Kevin Brown on June 1st, 1985.
Mm-hmm.
He meets your parents in 2 weeks.
1 week.
1 week. 1 week later, he meets your parents.
Mm-hmm.
Your father sits him down and says, "This is how it's going to be. If you're going to date my daughter, these are the guidelines that we wish for you to respect." Kevin says, "Okay." Your dad, Khalo, feels like it's a good idea for him to meet some family members and rather for you to have a small, intimate dinner with your brothers. He thinks it's a good idea for him to meet some more family members and go to the biggest event of the year, the Father's Day picnic at the Ramallah Club, where 300 to 400 of your closest friends and family come to the club. 2 weeks later, really, from the first date to the second time you guys are together.
It was
did I get that right?
That is exactly right.
Okay. And Kevin pulls up to the club and thinks that it's an outdoor picnic.
It's a picnic. Everyone eats outside when it's a picnic except us.
He comes in and meets 400 of your closest relatives. What happens after that?
Well, I don't think he was overwhelmed, because if you know Kevin, he is so easy to talk to, and he talks to anybody and everybody. And so
Correct.
I think I was more nervous than he was. And then by the end of the summer, my dad sat him down again and he said, "What are your intentions?" And Kevin goes, "What?" He goes, "There are plenty of people that want to date my daughter." And I remember saying this to Janice, and I'm looking around thinking, really? I'm like, where are they?
It's all a part of the market.
I know.
It's all a part of the marketing, Brenda.
And my
strategy.
And Dad is saying in Arabic, like, "Be quiet," you know.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
he's a smart man. He knew what he was doing. Yeah.
And so, truly, by the end of the summer, he had gotten the ring for me, and that's even a whole nother story. He bought me the ring, and then we had an actual official engagement party in November, because it was a long weekend. It was Veterans Day weekend. His mom could be here for it because she had a day off. Yeah, because she's not here anymore, and she's in South Carolina. So yeah,
June to November.
Well, actually, June to August, because I had that ring when I went back to work.
Yeah,
in August.
Oh, so the chutzpah was just like at a party, he formally asked like in August. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep, before I went back to work.
And
so I left the school year.
Yeah.
Just having started dating the guy on June 1st, and I came back engaged. I mean, his friends were more in shock than the Arabs. I mean, the Arabs, oh yeah, that's how it's done. But his friends were like, "What?" And then at the engagement party, because they had a priest come and bless it.
Yeah.
Dad, all of his friends were like, "Dude, I think you're married, and this is just a trial run until the actual wedding date."
Yes.
It's a trial thing here. Yeah.
So. And all due respect, I mean, all kidding aside, the jokes, etc. I mean, you married someone outside the culture. This was, how long have you been married?
It's been 39 years.
So you will celebrate your 40th anniversary next year. God bless you, Brenda. God bless you both. You are a beautiful example of a beautiful blended Christian family that has, withstood, beautiful relationships, beautiful bonded family over many, many years of wonderful memories and future memories, inshallah. But, at the time, it was not very common to do this. And your parents took a wonderful leap of faith.
Absolutely. And there were some people that said, "You go, good for you, and good to my parents for accepting this." And then there were other people, some
like
people
anything.
that said, like anything, said, "Oh," I remember one thing specifically my dad said was, "She's marrying a teacher, a coach. Does she realize she's going to have to work the rest of her life?" And, my dad raised me to work. I'd been working since I was 11 years old. That was never, and of course I was going to work, because that's why I got a degree. That's why, that's what we did.
To be self-sufficient.
Absolutely. And
yes.
So, yeah. So my dad goes, "Absolutely, she knows that." And she's fine with that.
Yeah. Alex?
So,
yeah. Wow. Amazing. Now let's talk about the other side of this. With Kevin marrying into your family and becoming what we lovingly call a Batteh Brown, you joined his football family.
I did.
And I want to remind everyone that prior to Kevin Brown's extraordinary career at Duncan Fletcher High School, he played college football at Florida State University and was mentored by one of the most successful and respected coaches of all time, Coach Bobby Bowden. And Brenda, you speak a lot about Kevin coming from a smaller family, but sports and coaching was his family when you met him. He was an educator, like you mentioned, assistant football coach at Fletcher, soccer coach, involved in baseball and just about every other sport at Fletcher. Was that an adjustment for you when you were first married?
It's interesting. The year that we were engaged, because we were engaged an entire school year, because, you can't marry a coach during any season.
So you had to work around
we had to work around all the sports, and we got married in the heat of the summer in July. I had a year to kind of get adjusted to that. And Kevin, in his infinite wisdom, had me coaching cross country. He's like, oh, well, there's an opening for cross country coach. Why don't you coach cross country? I'm like, I don't know anything about cross country. He goes, I can help you there. So he would give me workouts every day and say, okay, this is what the kids need to do today, and this is what they need to do today. And so I coach cross country. And then I ended up later actually being the first flag football coach at Fletcher, which was so much fun because Kevin helped me with that as well. And we were damn good. But he did spend a lot of time coaching, especially with something like football, because it doesn't. Back when he first started, you played the game on a Friday night, you got game film over the weekend. Sometimes they would watch game film until 2:00 in the morning, depending on who the head coach was. And then there were times, but Kevin was always the person that had to go switch game film with the other coach. But most times it was on a Sunday afternoon, and Sunday afternoons is a lot of family time.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
he did miss a lot of stuff with family at that time. But my family, we were just so big and involved. It's not like, I felt like he missed out, not us. My kids were wherever the family was, that's where we were, So I don't feel like they missed out on anything. And I will say this, I loved it for him. It was his passion, and I knew that. And when we first got married and we did engaged encountering with the priest, he said to Kevin, this family is very important to her. I know the family and the culture, kind of like your sports. And he said to me, his sports is kind of like what your family is. And so, there was a lot of compromising there, but it was amazing. And I will say this, and I will always say this, my kids were raised in an amazing environment where they met people of so many different ethnic backgrounds. We had kids that would come to the house and eat dinner with us all the time. We had kids, we used to cook for the whole soccer team. We had kids that came and spent the night with us because Kevin was taking a group of football players on a scouting expedition the next day. We had a young man that lived with us part of his senior year of high school, and it was the year that Jamie was born. And to this day, he thinks that she's his little sister. It's just, that community was amazing to raise our kids in. Jamie, on planning days at Fletcher High School, she would go, the kids would go with me to work, and Jamie would work the copy room for everybody. Like, people would leave their copies while we were in meetings all day, and she'd make copies for everybody. It was just an incredible environment. And people have said, why didn't you send him to a Catholic school? I couldn't have asked for a better situation than what I had. It was amazing. Mm-hmm. It really was. Yeah. We were so blessed. So many people, so many eyes on my kids. Yeah. Truly. They knew they grew up in a bubble pretty much. They couldn't get away with anything, but...
And to clarify, we grew up in a Catholic school. You grew up in a Catholic school. I did. That's why people asked you that. The 12 years of...
And don't get me wrong, my Catholic education was amazing. A little sheltered.
Yeah.
But amazing.
But that's why they assumed that you would do the same for your children. But being a teacher at Fletcher, you and Kevin afforded you the ability to, have that your children right there with you.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny because I worked and lived in the same community. And to this day, I go to my Publix because I know I've got my kids that work there. My former students are there. And I like that. There are a lot of people that I couldn't work and live in the same community. I absolutely loved it. I love everything there is about the beach and all the people and
Yeah, these beach people, Alex. These beach people.
Love them.
Yeah.
Love them.
It's very hard for them to cross that bridge, cross that pond, as they say.
And I will say this.
Yeah.
My father knew nothing about sports. And then he met Kevin Brown. And Kevin would, if they were leaving to go to take a group of kids to FSU or to Florida or whatever to be scouted, they would always go by my parents' house first. And Mom would either feed them breakfast, dinner, whatever it was.
Oh, how beautiful.
And
no surprise.
No
surprise.
Yeah. And so my dad would always say, Tell me what number they are once they made it on a college team. What channel are they playing on today? He would call Kevin and ask him specifically, okay, what side of the ball are they on? When will they be on the field? And so Dad and Kevin would be on the phone for like 30 minutes. He'd say, okay, he's in now. See where the ball is? Okay, go to the left like 2 people. See that number? That's them. And then the play would be over before Dad could even figure it out who it was. Or he would call and Dad would call and say, why isn't he playing? I guess he's not as good as we thought he was. It was an incredible relationship that my dad and he formed over sports. And another funny story. So Kevin coached soccer. Well, back in Ramallah, that's what everybody played was soccer.
Yeah.
So there was a time when we were playing somewhere out in Orange Park. And so I picked up my dad and I picked up Alma Campbell Salem. And we go to the soccer game. And afterwards, I'm on Campbell Salem is saying to Kevin, like, Kevin, you should have done. And he's telling him everything that he did wrong. And we had just lost a game.
Oh, no.
It was just
having them 2 in the car, telling him what to do.
It was hysterical. It was just, and he's like, okay, Alma. Okay, Alma. Okay, Alma. Then he had to get back on the bus and hear all those boys say, so who was telling you? It was just
so sweet.
It was awesome.
What a story.
It was awesome.
Thank you. That's awesome. So, of course, my next question has to do with the relationship, the wonderful relationship and the mutual respect that your father and Kevin had with one another, and, how your father educated your Kevin about Palestine. This has to be, I know that was really important to you because I know that you and I have spoken over the years about how much your culture has meant to you and how much you didn't realize how much it meant to you until after you got married and after you had children, and how you have really concentrated on making sure your children were raised knowing their heritage and knowing their culture. Do you want to speak on that?
Well, I will say it's interesting. I took it for granted. I really did. I just thought that's how everybody was. Like, I thought that whenever I went home, everybody left with the groceries from their parents' house. I thought that if, you go to the sandwich shop, and I'm not kidding you take all the Arabic bread you want, all the lettuce, all the tomatoes, all the lunch meat, blah, blah, blah. It was just how it was. And I thought everybody was like that until Kevin said, Brenda, that's not how it's done. Like, it was just so different. And he's the one that opened my eyes to not just that, the giving nature,
the generosity,
and how sweet and kind they are, but the giving of their time. Or even, I haven't seen the kids in a week. Can you bring them over this weekend? Like, my parents, they just wanted to see them so badly. And my mom, Jamila was born a month early, and I thought I only had a couple weeks to go at the end of the school year to go back to work, but I ended up having 6 weeks to go. And so I hadn't made for the 2 weeks I had thought I had an arrangement made, but for 6 weeks, there was no way. So my mom came from town, because we lived next to Bishop Kenny High School, drove to the beach every day, every single day, was at my house.
From St. Nicholas, absolutely. Yeah.
Was at my house by 6:30 in the morning. She took care of Jamila. She cleaned my house. She made us dinner every day. She did the laundry. She met all my neighbors because she would go outside, strolling around, talking to everybody. She knew more neighbors than I did. And I mean, just how much she gave and time and everything else. And I remember when summer came, because, school year's over, Kevin's like, where's your mom?
Yeah.
And then she'd go home and take care of Dad.
Yeah.
It was just, yeah. I don't think everybody realizes that. I've got friends who've said, yeah, there's no way my parents would ever devote that much time.
Yeah.
So very blessed. And I know that. I do know that. And I will say, that one year that we were engaged, my mom used to make me a lunch and Kevin a lunch every single day. So I would walk into Fletcher High School and go to the faculty lounge, and I'd put in that refrigerator a lunch for Kevin and a lunch for Brenda. And, every day it was just, it was like instant.
Yeah.
Okay, he's part of the family now. That's it. Fellas.
Little things that were big things,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then, my kids were raised here. We did a lot of, we were every time the Easter Bunny came, we were here, and Santa Claus came, we were here. And I didn't come as much to the club meetings when they were young. But when they were in high school, I became the youth sponsor. I I tried to do the best I could with letting them learn more and more about the culture. Yeah.
Now, speaking of that, you have traveled back to Ramallah. What was that like?
I did. I got to go twice.
Oh.
I was very fortunate. In 1998, the summer of 98, the Federation was going in the summer and not at Easter. And so I got to go, and I went with my mom. I went with her sister, my Aunt Maggie. I went with her brother, my Chalo Albert, and his wife, my Aunt Janine. So my children were 9 and 7 at the time. I said, sayonara, Kevin. And he was working a camp that summer because, we both usually worked in the summers. And he figured it out. I did have a lot of food cooked for him before I left and in the freezer, and I came home and it's still there. But everybody at Bono's knew everybody's name in my family. So, but I got to room with my mom and my Aunt Maggie, and the dynamics between the two of them are priceless. My Aunt Maggie is 15 months older than my mother, and you would think that she was her mother. It was amazing to watch the dynamics of the two of them. I had the best time with them. My mom was a little disappointed. She said it was hotter than she remembered. And the buildings, there were so many more buildings than when she left. She was just in shock of, what is this here? What is that there? But I will say, when we went to their house that they owned. And at that time, they still owned the house. And it was a girls' dorm for Bears at University.
Yeah.
And
Hamra.
The Hamra.
Yeah.
And my mom and my Aunt Maggie and myself, and I think Aunt Janine, we all went inside.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful place. It's a beautiful home. And my mom, I remember Mom and Aunt Maggie looking down, and Mom goes, those are the same marble floors that were here when we were here.
Wow.
And then I got the opportunity to go back for the convention in 2014, and my brothers and their families went, and Houston and Kevin and I went, and that was amazing as well. And we left there and went to Jordan afterwards and got to meet most of Ghada's family, my sister-in-law's family, because they're from there. But we also ate at Boozerukab every day, just like I did in 1989. I mean, in 98.
Best ice cream ever.
Oh, the best. Flustuk, the pistachio ice cream. It was the best there. Yeah, it was. Yeah, I'm very blessed to have been able to go back. And, God willing, inshallah, we get to do it again.
Inshallah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Brenda, back to Kevin. Could you talk about, real quick, could you talk about what he's doing for our community, especially at the beaches, and also about your children? This is your time to brag about Jamie and Houston and your grandchildren. And for example, Jamie following in your footsteps as a teacher, using many of your mom's recipes, having a close bond with your mom, and Houston participating at Day of Action with me, and then taking that beyond the one program.
Okay, well, God, this is a loaded question.
There is a lot to brag about for your family, Kevin, all of Houston, Jamie, all of them. Go for it.
And I can go on. And I will say, I'll start with Kevin and kind of work my way down.
You go right ahead.
Age-wise.
Yeah.
The first thing I want to say is, people assume that Kevin was a coach only. They thought he taught PE. Kevin is extremely intelligent. He was a science teacher, and he taught. By the time his career ended, he was the head of the ACE science program there. He had the highest test scores in Duval County on these tests. What? There are some tests he had 100% pass rate. I mean, he didn't just do like one part of the test, like there's an A and a B. He did them both in one school year. Amazing teacher. And kids today will stop him, will call him and say, Coach, that project we did in your class, I've used it for my college class, and you're not going to believe. I mean, it's just, I don't think people realize how intelligent the man is. Wow. He does an incredible job of keeping the beach community safe. The sand dunes, all of that stuff was his and his students' ideas. Mm-hmm. Planting the sea oats, his and the students' ideas. To this day, they've planted just them, probably over 50,000, which doesn't sound like a lot because there's so many on there, but they got the initiative going. I don't think people realize that if it wasn't for the sand dunes, hurricanes would take out houses. Hurricanes would take out
big time.
Absolutely. I mean, he's gotten so many awards. I can't keep track of them. But he will always say, and he has always said, that if it wasn't for the teachers, the coaches, and some of the community members here at the beach, he probably wouldn't be as successful as he is as far as going to college or any of that stuff. Jamila is a 4th grade teacher at San Pablo Elementary. Her 2 daughters, Jordan Layla and Jocelyn Sawyer, both go to school there, and her son, Jay Houston, will be there next year. She gives and gives. It's kind of funny. I ran into a classmate of hers about a month ago, and he said, "Oh, I thought I'd see Jamie here." I said, "Well, she's busy with the kids, but today they're doing something for PTA, and she's president of the PTA." And he looks at me and goes, "Of course she is."
No surprise.
No surprise at all.
Yeah.
Her middle school principal said to me, "I could be gone for a week, and your daughter could run my school for me." I mean, she is a natural leader. She is a natural teacher. I can't say enough. And then she educates her kids about Palestine. I think it was last year or the year before. Jordan had to pick a scientist, and she picked a Palestinian scientist. Jamie helped her pick a Palestinian scientist, and educated a lot of people about Palestine doing that. And the kids know that they can't go to McDonald's because they support the genocide, and they will say, "Well, we can't go to McDonald's, we can't go to Burger King, we can't go to Starbucks." They know these things because she's educated on them. So I'm very proud of everything that she has done. Houston is super involved in the activism.
Yes.
I mean, he has named Palestinian organizations I've never heard of that he's involved with in Atlanta. And if he's not at work, he is protesting, he is knocking on doors, he is very involved in getting what we would consider the right people, I guess, elected. He works
Advocating.
He advocates so much for the Palestinians. Even at his job, he'll, conversation will start and he'll say, "Well, let me remind you of this," that sort of thing.
Teaching moments.
Absolutely. Yeah. He is truly educated on Palestinian history, as Alex.
It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. I got to spend some time with him at Day of Action in Washington, D.C. a few years ago, and it was absolutely amazing, the knowledge level that he has about Palestinian history. Being half Palestinian at that, same as
Yes. And he told me, he goes, "Mom, if you had never taken me in 2014, I don't know that I'd be as involved." He said, "That opened my eyes to so much stuff."
Yeah.
And then he went back again in 2018. And I remember calling everybody. I couldn't go that summer. I'm calling everybody that's going. I'm like, "Okay, Houston's going. He's going by himself. Somebody please keep your eye." It just worried me because he was so outspoken.
Yeah.
He's smart, but still outspoken.
But as a young man traveling alone, we know how this works. We know how this works at borders. We know how this works at certain checkpoints. We know how this works.
Yep.
An American young man, regardless, it does not matter.
And at that point, when we went in 14, he was clean shaven. By 18, he had a beard and the curls were hanging out, and so, it did concern me. But, we talk about the food. So when Houston comes to town, I have a wedding vine in my backyard that I got from my mother, who got from her mother, that got it back from Palestine. So, and Janice has part of that vine.
I sure do.
There are a ton of people in Jacksonville that have part of that vine.
Yes.
And when Houston's in town, we all roll wedding together. They pick, I won't pick. They pick, I blanch. We dry, we roll. And Houston's a vegetarian, so we make the salami one. We do it all. I mean, it is awesome. It's such an incredible bonding moment for all of us. And the kids love the food, so it's even better.
Sounds so nice.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And I also have a son-in-law, Jeremy McCann, who owns his own business. He is a personal trainer, and he trains mostly athletes. He's extremely supportive of my daughter Jamila and the Palestinian people, and he's very involved with us as well.
Brenda, I'm going to ask you about the proudest moment, but I hope you haven't had your proudest moment. You've had wonderful memories so far, but any proud moment?
I will say, I think both of my kids have servants' hearts, and that makes me very proud. And I'd like to think that they learn that by example, because Kevin and I do both like to give back to the community, whether it's at church or it's in the community itself. I mean, we're both involved in a lot of stuff. And I think probably the proudest I've ever been is when I've run into a parent from St. Pablo Elementary that says, "Oh, wait, you're Jamie McCann's mom?" I'm like, "Yeah, I am." "Oh my God, we just love her. She's so good." And then I'll run into somebody that's met Houston. Like we went to visit Houston, and as you know, he's a bartender right now. People at the bar will come up to us because he always puts a reserve sign when he knows that we're coming at the bar. And then people go, "Who's that reserved for?" He goes, "My parents are coming." So he introduces me to the regulars. And we've had regulars come up and say, "Y'all have done an amazing job raising him." So that makes me very proud when people tell me that we've done a good job raising our kids.
Yeah.
It does. Yep.
Now, as we sign off, we want to thank you. And as a retired educator and past president of this club, we are going to lean on you for some wisdom.
Ooh.
Any final thoughts before we sign off?
I just am grateful that I was here today. What an incredible blessing to be able to tell my story, truly. Not just my story, but my parents and my kids and my husband. So that's all I have to say. No wisdom here. Sorry.
Oh, you have lots of
Plenty of
wisdom,
wisdom.
Brenda.
Thank you.
Lots of wisdom.
Thank
you
you.
so much, Brenda.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Hear Our Story, a podcast dedicated to first-generation Palestinian Americans. Special thanks to the Ramallah American Club of Jacksonville and to the production team of Joy Batteh Farhat, Alex Elias, Janice Farhat, and Chris Varmond. Hear Our Story can be found on all podcast platforms. We look forward to bringing you our next story.